Welcome to A Chef's Grimoire, Winter. Today we'll be working with the High Priestess. So I wanted to go back to the Major Arcana page just to show you where we are. We covered the Fool, we covered the Magician, and here sits the High Priestess. She is numbered 2. Magician is 1, High Priestess is 2. We have quite a ways to go, but the High Priestess is in the beginning of our journey. We meet her for establishing our sense of intuition, and we're going to get into that right now. Now, these, as I've mentioned before, are depictions from the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and pretty much is the established deck of tarot today. It's a great starter deck because it really has all the symbolism in all the cards before people that created new decks took their interpretations and put them into the cards. So this is the most true version of the original tarot decks, and that's why I like to work with these cards. So we're going to move on to, as we were talking about interpretations, we're going to move on to my interpretation of the High Priestess right now. I wanted to really ground the page with the pillars. I also didn't want to add any kind of border except for the doorway of the pillars in which everything resides inside of. The reason is because we're talking about the High Priestess who has connections to the outer worlds, the other worlds. And if I put any kind of border on there, it would enclose the whole page. Instead, I'm leaving it open so that it's open to all of the mass that's all around the page. The pillars have names, and this goes back to centuries and centuries ago. 2 pillars stood before King Solomon's temple, and they were named for mythology characters, but also giving them a sense of presence. So the pillar to the right of the High Priestess is Boaz, and the pillar to the left is Jachin. Boaz means strength, Jachin means establish. So with established strength, one can cross the threshold, whether it be into Solomon's temple or into whatever world we need to cross over into. I decided not to make the columns black and white, instead just leave them as they are. Black and white actually has significance of being the masculine and the feminine, which is another duality. We're going to see a lot of that with the High Priestess, a lot of 2. She is numbered 2. And 2 in these Roman numerals, actually look just like the pillars. So they're a doorway. This is a doorway. It's all about crossing from one side to the other and how one does that. So we're going to go back to the story of the Fool's journey. And this is how I foresee the 2 meeting. As the journey continues, the light of day dims to dusk, and the Fool finds themselves on the 2nd hour, day, week, month, or year of their journey. Fog rolls in, and the space around is mystical and rich. Without the sun to guide the way, the Fool must rely on their sense of intuition to put forth the path ahead. 2 pillars appear in the distance, and between them, we meet the High Priestess. She is draped in a blue cloak, holding the Torah on her lap, and wears a crown upon her head. The Fool sits near to the High Priestess and can feel her wisdom and hidden knowledge. She teaches the Fool that if one approaches life with both curiosity and inner wisdom, a transformative journey of self-discovery will emerge. For the doorway to the higher realms is open to anyone and will provide guidance to those with rationalization and acquiescence. Let's talk about symbolism in the page. This here is a symbolism of the third eye. The third eye is our intuition. So if you were to be blindfolded, you would still need to see. And how do we see? Well, we touch in with our inner voice, and from there, we can get answers. And that's all about the third eye. It's what the fool has to rely on in order to find the High Priestess and find their way in the fog, in the mist, in the mystical space. We have the black cat, which I found to be the perfect companion to the High Priestess. Cats are wise. If you ever see a cat staring at you, they don't just stare at you, they stare through you. They can see into your inner soul. Perfect for our High Priestess friend. I also wanted the cat to sit on a bunch of books because the High Priestess has so much knowledge, but the books are closed and on the floor. The only thing she has on her lap is the Torah. So all of this she's learned already. It's behind her. She doesn't need these books. She has it all in her head, and if she needs to know something, she could just close her eyes and the answers are given. So the cat just uses it as a perch because at this point, that's all it's good for. Our High Priestess wears a crown. Now, some people say it's the crown of Isis, and that crown has 2 horns from a cow with a sun disk in the center. And it signifies a good harvest. When a good harvest comes to you, you know you can make it through winter. So a lot of stress and grief is taken off your shoulders. Now, the way I like to look at it is 2 crescent moons flanking a full moon. The moon is one of our High Priestess's symbols. She is of the water flowing, emotions, all the things that nurturing and giving us a sense of ease. That's all the characteristics of our High Priestess friend. She wears a blue cloak. Blue, again, the color of water. It also resembles femininity. She wears an equal armed cross, meaning all-inclusive. She has the Torah on her lap. Torah, if you took the letters and you rearranged them, also spelled tarot. At the base of her cloak is a crescent moon. The crescent moon symbolizes new beginnings and growth and potential. Its illumination in darkness signifies hope and allows us to explore our subconscious. Again, the crescent moon. This time I put flowers through it or herbs, and that goes towards the femininity of our High Priestess. Herbs are nurturing and can heal us. The dragonfly is an amazing creature, and again, a familiar or companion to our High Priestess. Dragonflies symbolize lightness of being and the ability to see beyond our illusions, a representation of clarity and insight, a messenger of the spiritual dimension. Dragonflies are super interesting. They're light as a feather, but they can hold 15 times their weight. They also have an ability to stop in mid-flight and go in any direction. Fluidity, much fluidity in this creature. Atop our pillars, I put white lilies. Lilies White lilies represent purity. They represent purity of spirituality. They also were closely connected to Isis. Again, Isis representing that crown upon the High Priestess's head. So these two make that connection. Pomegranates. In the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, the High Priestess sits in front of a pomegranate grove. Pomegranates grow on small trees, and they need specific climates in order to grow and produce fruit. Now, having gone through most of the symbolism here, we're going to turn our attention to cooking. I decided to use the pomegranate. It speaks the loudest of all that we've mentioned for our High Priestess. Pomegranates symbolize life, death, and rebirth. They represent cycles of existence, and its many seeds signify fertility, abundance, and potential for new beginnings. Some people believe that the pomegranate holds 613 seeds. Now, if this is true, in the Torah, there are 613 laws and ordinances. So that's what makes these two coincide with each other. Now, I've never counted the inside seeds of a pomegranate, but if you'd like to, go for it. How do we cook with them? Well, the season here in New York, which is where we are in North America, is very short. It's only October through January, so best to get them fresh in those months. This sweet but tart fruit has juicy seeds known as areoles that burst with flavor when eaten. So enjoy them in the winter fresh, while using preserves, molasses, and juice in the spring and summer. In cooking with the pomegranate, I love to think that you're envisioning each seed with a connection to you and your insights, to your wisdom of the High Priestess. The deep red color will root your culinary creations to earth, ground you, but transport the flavors to heavenly dimensions. On our menu today, we have a pomegranate chicken dish. We have coconut pomegranate rice. We have a High Priestess cocktail. And last but not least, a pomegranate panna cotta. Let's get cooking. This is a lovely little drink. We start with vodka, pomegranate juice, and maple syrup. We're going to mix it all together and get a nice chilled glass. To the glass, we're going to add some shaved or chopped ice and pomegranate areoles. Now mix those areoles into the ice as best you can, getting them over to the bottom and throughout the ice. Then pour that gorgeous liquid over your ice and top with a little Prosecco. Garnish with more areoles. And a beautiful rosemary sprig. To the High Priestess. Oh my, it's tart, sweet, bubbly. You get the whiff of the pine from the rosemary. It's a lovely drink. So this is to honor our High Priestess, not only in the outer worlds, not only in the tarot, but also within us. Cheers. To start our panna cotta, we're going to work with a ramekin of water, and we're using gelatin. This is unflavored gelatin from Great Lakes. I feel it's the best on the market if you can get it. We're going for 2 teaspoons, and each teaspoon is going to be leveled off, just like that. Sprinkle it over the water, and the water can be room temperature. And then we're going to shake it up until all of the powdered gelatin is in the water. We're going to set this aside for about 5 minutes to gel. Meanwhile, we have a pan that's going to be hot, and we're going to add our coconut milk. It's a whole can of really excellent quality coconut milk. We're going to add maple syrup and vanilla. Give that a good stir. Now we're going to add that gelatin. You see how it's gelled to a disc? Going to add that to the warm coconut milk and give it a stir. Now you're looking to dissolve this gelatin, so it's going to take about 3 to 5 minutes, and stir all the time. Keep checking to make sure there is no lumps. Set that brew aside, let it cool down for a little bit, and then we're going to ladle it evenly into 4 vessels. Now I'm using these cocktail glasses today, and I'm only going to fill them to the bottom of that pattern. I think a ladle is the easiest way to get the liquid into the glasses without a lot of spillage. We're going to make our pomegranate jelly that sets on top of the custard now. So you want hot water that you're going to add to the gelatin. Give that a good stir. We're looking to dissolve that gelatin completely. Now what I found was easiest was, instead of whisking, just pass it from one vessel to the other. This is the hot gelatin and pomegranate juice. Then once it's cooled down a bit, you're going to take your set custard and add that pomegranate jelly to the top, evenly distributing between the glasses. There they are. Now we have not finished them yet, but this is just a precursor. To make our chicken, we need the thighs trimmed, and we're going to add a little oil to them. I'm using an extra virgin olive oil. Now I'm electing to do the oil on the chicken versus putting the oil in a hot pan. Why? Because you're going to get less splatter. You're going to season up those chicken thighs really well, salt, pepper. And into a nice hot pan they go. You should hear that sizzle when they hit the pan. Now we're going to do the second batch of thighs, and notice the residual grease that's left in the pan. If I had oiled the pan prior to the first batch being cooked, there would have been an excessive amount of oil. I would have had to pour it out. But here, I can use the residual oil as the oil to start the next batch and cook them till they're golden brown. While the chicken is cooking, let's do some knife skills. We're going to hone our knife, getting that edge back, and we're going to trim out some carrots. Then we're going to peel them. And we're going to cut them into sizable portions so they're easier to work with for the cut that we're doing. Now we're going to make what's called a baton. So we're going to cut through the center of the carrot, making 2 sides, and we're going to place those sides on top of each other, then cut through them again. And we're going to cross cut. We have a nice dice. This is a medium dice, or chop. Get all your carrots done. Moving on to the pepper. We're going to take off the top, and we're going to find the place where the core is, and we're going to cut around the core, standing the pepper on end to do it. This goes to compost. Next, we're going to take out all of the innards of the pepper. All that white pith, P-I-T-H, take it off. It's bitter and it doesn't look very nice on the pepper. Now we're going to look and try to get the pepper to the same size as the carrot. I'm using the inside to cut versus the outside because the outside is slippery and the knife might slip. Once you have them into your batons, cross-cut them just like the carrot. Next, we're going to grate some ginger. Now, in a previous episode, I showed you how to peel the ginger with a spoon versus a knife. It gives you better results. And then scrape your ginger into a little vessel. And we have our mise en place ready for finishing our chicken. We're going to add that beautiful veg to the residual grease left from the chicken. We're going to add a harissa paste. Now I'm using mild. You can use spicy. It's elective. We're going to add some coconut milk. Pomegranate juice. Honey. Give it all a good stir. And now we're going to add the aromatics. Garlic, chipotle in adobo. This does not make the stew spicy, however you can use more if you'd like. And our ginger. Lastly, a cinnamon stick. And give that a nice stir. And we're going to add the chicken back to the pot, placing it right on top of all that gorgeous liquid. Cover the pot and bake in a 425 oven. Now there are many ways to seed a pomegranate. I've heard of plenty of them, but this method works for me. So you're looking for a pomegranate that's leathery in its skin, beautifully red, and firm. You're going to cut it in half, get a nice bowl of water, and submerge the pomegranate into the water, breaking it open and pulling out the seeds with your fingers under the water. This helps so that all of the juice from the pomegranate doesn't stain your cutting board, your hands. What's going to happen is all of the pith, P-I-T-H, from the pomegranate is going to float to the top while the seeds stay at the bottom of the water. And you just skim out all that pith. And then what I like to do is get a bowl with a strainer, go dumpster diving for those areoles, and place them into the strainer. If there's any pieces of the pith left, just pick them off. But this usually works beautifully, and you can do it in a few minutes. Now for our rice. We're going to add coconut milk mixed with water. And this is saffron. Saffron comes in threads, which are great, and you can dump them in as a thread, but I like to crush them up a little bit. I think that this helps distribute the color into the liquid. Look at that color. Beautiful. We're going to add our rice. We're going to add a good pinch of salt, and we're only stirring, now that the rice is in the liquid, very, very little. Cover the pot and cook. This is the end result. Amazing. It's fluffy, light. Now this isn't finished. We're going to add some chopped pistachios, pomegranate molasses, grated orange zest, and a clunk of butter. Mix that all in really well. You're doing this while it's still hot. Add some more butter if you like. I like to use at least 2 tablespoons or more, depending on the amount of rice. And we're going to have some pistachios and pomegranate molasses left for garnishing the dish. Ah, the smell of this is amazing. Let's plate it up. We're going to add a generous portion of our rice. And we're going to add 1 or 2 thighs, depending on how you wish to serve this dish. I'm going to start with 1. And then I'm going to take all of that veg with liquid and just surround the dish with it. Instant pop of color. Just amazing. You can see that cinnamon stick that's left. If you like, you can drizzle extra juice or even boil down the juice so it becomes more of a glaze. You can do that as well. It's coming together nice. Now remember those residual pistachios and pomegranate molasses? Let's finish the garnish. And last but not least, some greenery with parsley. The chicken is fall off the bone. Tender, beautiful. The skin is even still crispy. You could put it under the broiler right after it comes out of the oven, but I didn't see a need. The pomegranate flavor is very subtle, but it's there. And by adding the pomegranate molasses over the dish as a finisher, it just highlights the savory and sweet tart flavor of the chicken. The rice is a perfect complement. It's got the fat of the coconut milk in there, a crunch of the nut. Really lovely. They pair so well together. And then the vegetable is full of the flavor of the tart and sweet from the pomegranate. And it just melts in your mouth. Remember our panna cotta? It's all set. The gel's jellied, and we're going to add those areoles at the top. I like to put quite a bit on top. It really helps the texture of this dessert. Look at that. So here we are at dessert. I love the way it's set up. The custard with the distinct line of the pomegranate, that jelly that we made, and then those gorgeous pomegranate seeds at the top. Beautiful. Before we actually taste, I do want to recap on everything we've learned about the High Priestess today. So she comes at a time in our journey when we need to be reminded that our intuition is hands down what we need to rely on in tough times, in good times, in I just don't know what to do times. If you can plug into your intuition and just feel, you can really go far. You can really find the answers. Our intuition is going to guide us, and it never steers us wrong. And I believe we did honor to the card today by preparing a scrumptious meal. Pomegranates as our theme, from the cocktail to the entree, and now to dessert. Now let's taste. We got a little bit of the jelly, a little bit of the pomegranate seeds. So light. Now, those of you that don't like coconut milk, you cannot taste the coconut. The jelly is sweet, and it masks the flavor of the custard by bringing out the vanilla instead of the coconut flavor. That crunch of the pomegranate seed gives it texture. This is so good. It's not overly sweet, so if you like sweet desserts, I would say add another tablespoon of maple syrup when you're mixing it all together. But, oh, yum. I love panna cotta. I think the High Priestess would approve. See you next week.